In a village plagued by mysterious disappearances and gripped by fear, two best friends find themselves ensnared in a web of intrigue and danger. When Titi suddenly vanishes, Ayo's world is turned upside down. Her quest to uncover the truth leads her to the heart of the village Buka, where dark secrets and unimaginable horrors lie hidden. With the help of a charming prince disguised as a commoner, Ayo uncovers a chilling conspiracy that threatens to destroy everything she holds dear. Time is running out. They uncover a truth more terrifying than they ever imagined. Can they expose the evil lurking within their community and save their loved ones before it's too late? Or will they become the next victims of the dark feast? Join us in this spine-tingling tale of bravery, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Savanna Storytime for more captivating tales that will leave you wanting more. The kingdom of Adeni, a prosperous realm of southern rule, was known for its rich culture, diverse landscapes, and vibrant communities. Among its many picturesque settlements was the village of Adja. Nestled amidst lush forests and fertile lands, Adja buzzed with life and tradition. In villages like Adja, a village head ruled with wisdom and care. Chief Adedeji, the respected leader of Adja, was a figure of dignity and strength. His tall, imposing figure was often seen walking through the village, his kind eyes always observing, and his deep voice offering guidance and encouragement. Chief Adedeji was known for his fair judgment and deep connection to the traditions and customs of Adja. He wore elaborately embroidered robes that signified his status, and a beaded crown rested upon his head, symbolizing his authority and dedication to his people. The festival of harvest was upon them, a ceremony that was held once every year. The air was filled with the rhythmic sounds of drumming, the laughter of children, and the chatter of villagers preparing for the grand celebration. Brightly colored fabrics fluttered in the breeze, and the aroma of roasting meat mingled with the sweet scent of ripening fruit. As the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the villagers were fully prepared for the harvest. Among them, Papa B, the village butcher, stood tall and robust, his dark eyes gleaming with a mysterious light. His charm was well known, as was his exceptional skill in providing the freshest meat. Papa B's smile, though inviting, often left an unsettling feeling among the villagers. Despite having a wife, his advances towards young women were a poorly kept secret. Papa B approaches Titi, a vibrant young woman full of life and laughter, helping to decorate the village square. Papa B boldly asks Titi out, hoping to charm her with his smooth words. Titi, however, is unimpressed and publicly rejects him, causing a scene. The villagers pause their activities, watching Titi's voice cut through the festive atmosphere. "You already have a wife, Papa B," Titi says loudly, her voice filled with disdain. "I have no interest in your advances. Respect your wife and leave me alone." The village is momentarily silent, the tension palpable. Papa B's face darkens with anger, but he forces a smile and retreats, leaving Titi standing defiantly. The villagers resume their preparations, whispering among themselves about Titi's audacity. Despite the festive preparations, a shadow hangs over the village. For almost a year, villagers have been disappearing without a trace, causing fear and suspicion to grow. The disappearances are the only trouble in an otherwise peaceful community, and the villagers are on edge, hoping the festival will bring some respite from their worries. Chief Adedeji, the village chief, even though he seemed troubled by the mysterious disappearances that plagued Adja village, observed the preparations with a stern yet fair demeanor. The night of the festival of harvest arrives, and the village is alive with music, dancing, and feasting. The villagers, dressed in their finest traditional attire, gather in the village square to celebrate the bounty of the harvest. Titi and her best friend Ayo, a young woman with a sharp mind, courageous heart, and sparkling eyes, are among the revelers, enjoying the festivities and the sense of community. Their traditional attires are brightly colored, accentuating their lively spirit and deep connection to their heritage. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village of Adja was bathed in the warm hues of twilight. The day's festivities were winding down, and the villagers, still buzzing with excitement, began to return to their homes. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter and the distant rhythm of drums, a melody that echoed the spirit of the harvest celebration. In a modest but cozy hut, adorned with woven mats and intricate carvings, Ayo sat with her best friend, Titi. The two young women were enveloped in a cocoon of friendship and shared stories, their laughter mingling with the night air. Ayo, with her keen eyes and inquisitive nature, always found solace in Titi's company. Titi, with her warm smile and gentle demeanor, was a beloved figure in the village. As the evening deepened, Titi prepared to leave. She stood at the doorway, her figure silhouetted against the flickering light of the oil lamp. "I'll see you tomorrow, Ayo," she said, her voice soft and reassuring. "Good night, Titi," Ayo replied, watching her friend disappear into the night. The village of Adesha was a place of rich traditions and vibrant culture. The thatched roof huts, painted with earthy tones, stood in neat rows, each home a testament to the village's craftsmanship. The village square, the heart of the community, was adorned with colorful fabrics and decorations that told stories of the past and present. That night, however, the peace of Adja was shattered. As the villagers settled into their routines, an unsettling silence fell over the village. Titi did not return home. Her absence was felt like a chill in the air, spreading a sense of foreboding among the villagers. The next morning, the village awoke to the news of Titi's disappearance. The women gathered at the water well, their whispers filled with fear and suspicion. The men, their faces etched with concern, began organizing a search. The village guards, clad in traditional garments and armed with spears, combed through the dense forests and hidden pathways, but there was no sign of Titi. Ayo, heart heavy with worry, could not sit idle. Her home, usually filled with the aroma of spices and the warmth of family, now felt empty and cold. Determined to find her friend, Ayo retraced Titi's steps from the previous night. She spoke to the villagers, piecing together fragments of information. Her mind raced with questions, each one more troubling than the last. In the heart of the village of Adja, nestled among lush green fields and shaded by the towering Iroko trees, stood Ayo's modest home. Made from mud bricks and thatched with palm fronds, the house exuded a sense of warmth and simplicity. Ayo sat on a low wooden stool in her small but tidy room. Her thoughts were clouded with worry over her best friend Titi's sudden disappearance. Titi was the lively spark in her life, and her absence left a palpable void. Ayo becomes more determined than ever to find out what happened to her best friend. She starts asking questions, observing the villagers' behavior, and noting any unusual activities. The more she investigates, the more she realizes that the answer might lie closer to home than she initially thought. Ayo's suspicion grows as she recalls the scene between Papa B and Titi during the festival. She remembers the fear in Titi's eyes and the anger in Papa B's face. She noticed that no one seemed to question the Buka's untouchable status. Its reputation as the village's heart and soul shielded it from scrutiny. This glaring oversight became the focal point of Ayo's quest for answers. She needed to find a way to get inside and uncover what lay behind the Buka's walls. The village's central marketplace buzzed with activity, a hub where the aroma of spices mingled with the sound of haggling. Among the many stalls, the Buka owned by Papa B and his wife Mama B stood out. Mama B, a woman of striking presence, renowned for her culinary skills, oversees the arrangements at her buka, where large pots of steaming soups and stews simmer, releasing mouth-watering aromas. The buka was a large, bustling establishment, its walls adorned with vibrant murals depicting traditional stories and deities. The tantalizing smell of roasted meats and stews wafted through the air, drawing people from far and wide. Determined to uncover the truth, Ayo decided to take a bold step. She approached the buka, her heart pounding in her chest. The entrance was flanked by vibrant cloth banners fluttering in the wind, and inside, the hustle and bustle of patrons and servers created a lively, almost chaotic atmosphere. Excuse me, Mama B, Ayo began, addressing her with the utmost respect. I would like to work here. I can help with anything you need. Mama B looked at Ayo with a mixture of surprise and curiosity and asked, Do you even have any experience? Ayo hesitated, then replied, Not exactly, but I can cook, clean, and serve. I'm a fast learner. Just as Mama B was about to give a negative response, a server rushed over, panicking about a customer complaint. Mama B's face darkened as she listened to the server's frantic explanation. This is the third complaint today, Mama B snapped. You're fired. Leave now. The server's face turned pale, and she began to beg, Please, Mama B, I need this job. Mama B remained unmoved. I've given you enough chances. There's someone else that needs it more. Ayo watched the scene unfold, feeling a pang of guilt for the server, but knowing she needed this job. Summoning her courage, she quickly stepped in, addressing the lingering issue with the customer. Her polite demeanor and swift action resolved the matter efficiently. Impressed by Ayo's quick thinking and calm under pressure, Mama B turned to her. All right, you can start immediately. Come, I will show you around. Ayo quickly proved herself to be a diligent worker. She fetched water, chopped vegetables, and helped serve the eager customers. Her hard work and dedication did not go unnoticed, and soon she earned the respect of both Mama B and the other workers. Days turned into weeks, and Ayo became a fixture at the buka. She learned the rhythms of the kitchen, the secrets of the recipes, and the intricate dance of preparation and service. But amidst the clatter of pots and the sizzle of meat, one thing stood out, the kitchen store. The most important rule, as emphasized by Mama B, was that no one must ever step into the kitchen store for no reason whatsoever. According to other servers, they told Ayo that it contained all of Mama B's secret recipes. Ayo had settled into her job at the buka, her diligent nature quickly earning her the respect of both Mama B and the other workers. The buka, always bustling with activity, was the heart of the village's social life, and Ayo's presence there was a welcome addition. She moved gracefully among the patrons, serving them with a smile that belied the turmoil within her. Her mind was constantly preoccupied with the mystery of the secret door in the kitchen. It was during one of these busy afternoons that Dayo, on his first visit to the buka, first noticed her, tall and striking, with smooth dark skin that seemed to glow under the sun. Dayo had an air of charm and humor about him. His strong jawline and high cheekbones gave his face a chiseled look. As he watched Ayo deftly handle the crowd, he couldn't help but be drawn to her. Gathering his courage, he approached her with a grin, his infectious smile and easygoing nature already making a positive impression. Do you know why the yam was jealous of the plantain? Dayo asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Ayo looked up, a quizzical smile forming on her lips. Why? Because the plantain always gets fried while the yam only gets boiled, he said, bursting into laughter. Ayo laughed along with him, appreciating his attempt to lighten her mood. Over the next few weeks, Dayo made it a habit to visit the buka more often, each time bringing a new joke or story to share. His light-hearted nature was a balm to Ayo's troubled thoughts, and gradually, a bond began to form between them. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and red, Dio found Ayo sitting on a bench outside the buka, her expression thoughtful. He approached her with a small, intricately carved wooden box. "I have something for you," he said, handing her the box. Ayo opened it to find a delicate necklace inside, a small pendant. She looked up at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "It's beautiful, Dio. Thank you," she said softly. Dio smiled, a touch of shyness in his eyes. "I thought it would look lovely on you." As Ayo fastened the necklace around her neck, she felt a surge of warmth. It was more than just a gift. It was a symbol of their growing closeness. That night, as they walked through the village streets, lit by the soft glow of lanterns, Ayo felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in weeks. However, her peace was short-lived. The next day, while working in the buka, she overheard a conversation between patrons discussing another disappearance. Her mind immediately returned to the secret door. She knew she had to share her suspicions with Dio. After the buka closed for the night, Ayo and Dio sat by the edge of the village, near the sacred baobab tree. The moon cast a silver light over them, and the air was filled with the distant sounds of drums and singing from a nearby festival. "Dio, there's something I need to tell you," Ayo began, her voice tinged with urgency. "I think the disappearances are connected to the buka." Dio's expression turned serious as he listened to her recount the strange occurrences and her suspicion about the secret door in the kitchen. "We have to find out what's behind that door," Dio said, his resolve strengthening. As they spoke, Mama Bee watched from the shadows. She had noticed Ayo's curiosity, her questions, and the way she lingered near the kitchen. The next day, Mama Bee approached Ayo with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Ayo, my dear, you've been working so hard. Why don't you focus more on your job and your budding romance?" Mama Bee's tone was sweet, but there was a warning hidden beneath her words. Ayo nodded, her heart pounding. She knew she had to tread carefully. Mama Bee was onto her, but Ayo's resolve was unshaken. She would find out the truth, no matter the cost. The village streets, with their red earth paths and thatched roof huts, were filled with life and laughter. But for Ayo, each step brought her closer to uncovering a darkness that threatened to consume everything she held dear. Night had fallen over the village of Adja, casting long shadows that danced in the flickering torchlight. The buka, usually bustling with life, was now eerily quiet. Ayo, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination, hid in a dark corner of the kitchen, behind sacks of yams and baskets of dried fish. Her breath was shallow, her ears straining to catch any sound. She had waited patiently, knowing that tonight she might finally uncover the truth about the disappearances. As the night deepened, she heard the faint creak of the inner door. Peeking out from her hiding spot, she saw Papa B, the butcher, emerging from the shadows. His broad frame moved with a sinister purpose, and in his powerful arms, he dragged A into the kitchen store. Ayo watched as Papa B approached the inner door, a heavy wooden structure adorned with intricate carvings. The door swung open with a low groan, revealing a hidden passageway that seemed to lead into the bowels of the earth. Gathering her courage, Ayo slipped from her hiding place and followed him, careful to stay a few steps behind. The passageway was narrow and damp, the walls covered in moss. The air was thick with the scent of earth and decay, and the only sound was the soft pad of Papa B's feet on the stone floor. The passage twisted and turned, leading them deeper underground. Ayo's heart raced as they finally reached a large chamber, dimly lit by flickering torches set in iron sconces. The sight that met her eyes was more horrifying than she could have imagined. The room was filled with hanged human bodies, some in various stages of decomposition, their faces twisted in eternal agony. Ayo's stomach churned, and she had to clamp a hand over her mouth to stifle a scream. Her mind raced with the implications of what she was seeing. The villagers who had gone missing were not just victims. They had been transformed into the very meat that fed the village. As she took a step back, her foot brushed against a dry bone, sending it clattering to the ground. Papa B's head snapped around, his eyes narrowing as they searched the shadows. Ayo turned to flee, her heart hammering in her chest, but her path was blocked by Mama B. Mama B's eyes were filled with a mix of pity and resolve. Ayo, you should not have come here, she said softly, her voice laced with regret. Panicking, Ayo pushed past her, slipping through her grasp. She ran towards the exit, but Papa B was faster. His strong hand clamped down on her arm just as she reached the kitchen, her necklace slipping from her neck and falling to the ground with a faint clink. You're too curious for your own good, Papa B growled, his grip tightening. Ayo struggled, her eyes wide with terror, but she knew escape was impossible. She was dragged back into the darkness, the echo of her lost necklace, the only trace left of her. In the days that followed, the villagers whispered of Ayo's disappearance, another soul lost to the mysterious forces at play. But one person refused to give up hope. Dayo, driven by love and fear, would stop at nothing to uncover the truth and bring his beloved back. The village of Adja was cloaked in an unsettling quiet. The once vibrant streets, filled with the laughter and chatter of villagers, now echoed with whispers of fear and worry. Dayo walked with hurried steps, his eyes scanning every corner, every shadow, hoping to catch a glimpse of Ayo. The vibrant marketplaces, usually bustling with activity, seemed desolate to him as his heart raced with dread. Dayo stopped by Ayo's home, greeted by the concerned faces of her family. Her mother, draped in a richly colored cloth, eyes filled with unshed tears, shook her head. We haven't seen her since yesterday, she said, her voice trembling. Dayo reassured her with a tight smile, though his heart felt heavy with worry. Determined, he ventured back into the village streets, which were lined with mud-walled houses and thatched roofs, each painted in earthy hues. The aroma of cooking fires and the distant sound of drumming filled the air, but Dayo could not be distracted. His thoughts were consumed by Ayo's disappearance. He remembered her warnings, her suspicions about the Buka, and a cold shiver ran down his spine. As he approached the Buka, Dayo's steps slowed. The place that once seemed inviting now felt ominous. He walked around the back, hoping for any sign, any clue. It was then that something glinted in the dim light, catching his eye. He bent down and picked it up, a necklace, Ayo's necklace. His heart pounded as he clutched the necklace tightly. Ayo had been right about the Buka. He recalled their conversations, her voice filled with concern as she spoke about the strange secret door in the kitchen. Dayo's determination solidified into resolve. He had to find out the truth. As he withdrew, he noticed a small door slightly ajar at the back of the Buka. Quietly, he slipped inside, finding himself in a narrow corridor. The air was thick with the scent of spices and roasted meat, but something more sinister lingered beneath. His pulse quickened as he moved closer to the inner kitchen door that Ayo had mentioned. Listening intently, he could hear murmured conversations. The voices of Papa B and Mama B filtered through the wooden door, discussing the missing villagers with a nonchalance that chilled him. Dayo's mind raced. He had to act, but he needed help. Leaving as silently as he had entered, Dayo made his way back to the village. The full moon cast a pale light over the clay pathways, guiding his steps. He had to find a way to expose Papa B and Mama B's horrifying deeds. He would not rest until Ayo was found and the truth revealed. The stage was set for a confrontation that would uncover the darkest secrets of the Buka and restore peace to the village of Adja. Dayo knew the road ahead was fraught with danger, but he was prepared to face it head-on. Driven by his love for Ayo and his determination to see justice served. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting a silver glow over the quiet village of Adja. In the dim light of his modest home, Dio paced back and forth, his mind a whirlwind of worry and determination. The necklace he had found lay on the table, a stark reminder of the danger Ayo was in. His heart pounded with urgency. He knew he had to act quickly to save her and uncover the dark secrets of the Buka. Dio paused, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. He walked to a corner of his room and retrieved a small, intricately carved box. Opening it, he revealed a royal seal, a symbol of his true identity, Prince Ade of Adeni Kingdom. He had kept this secret well, blending into the everyday life of Adja, but now it was time to reveal the truth. His initial visit to the village had been under the guise of a common traveler, investigating the mysterious disappearances. Sitting at a wooden desk, he unrolled a piece of fine parchment and began to write a royal decree. The decree called for immediate assistance, detailing the sinister activities of Papa B and Mama B and the disappearance of several villagers. Once finished, Dio sealed the parchment with the royal seal, ensuring its authenticity. He then called for a trusted messenger. "Take this to my father," Dio instructed, his voice firm. "We must act swiftly and discreetly." The messenger bowed deeply, accepting the decree with reverence. "It shall be done, my prince," he replied, before hurrying off into the night, the decree clutched tightly in his hand. As the messenger disappeared into the darkness, Dio felt a renewed sense of hope. He knew his father would respond with the urgency the situation demanded. In Adeni, the king received the decree with grave concern. His eyes scanned the parchment, his expression hardening with each line. Without hesitation, he summoned his most trusted guards and advisors. The room filled with the soft rustle of fabric and the low murmur of voices as the guards assembled, their faces set with determination. "The time has come to aid my son," the king declared, his voice resonating with regal authority. "We must uncover the truth and restore peace to Adja. Prepare for a secret investigation. Move swiftly and with great caution." The guards, dressed in vibrant traditional garments, adorned with symbols of their rank and heritage, nodded in unison. They moved with practiced efficiency, their footsteps echoing softly as they left to prepare for the journey. The mission was clear: infiltrate the Buka, gather evidence, and rescue the missing villagers, all while maintaining the utmost secrecy. Back in Adja, Dio waited anxiously, his thoughts with Ayo and the others who had fallen victim to Papa B and Mama B's sinister plot. The hours felt like days, and Dio decided to take matters into his own hands. Using the cover of night, Dio slipped into the Buka. The kitchen was empty, and the inner door loomed ominously before him. It appeared as though someone just entered through the door. Dio pushed it open and descended into the dark, damp underground path. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and Dio's stomach churned. As Dio ventured deeper, he heard two familiar voices talking. It was Papa B and Chief Adedeji. He learned that the chief had been complicit in the disappearances, using Papa B's services to punish those who crossed him. However, Papa B had taken it further, indulging in his own twisted pleasures by feeding the villagers the bodies of their own. He waited patiently till they left the room, closing the door behind. Dio began his search and eventually found Ayo, alive but weak, tied up in the large room. Relief washed over him, but it was short-lived. Papa B and Mama B caught him before he could escape with Ayo. "So another one joins the party," Papa B sneered, his eyes cold and calculating. Mama B, torn between her loyalty to her husband and her fondness for Ayo, tried to intervene. "Please, Papa B, is there another way to silence these two without killing them?" she begged. But Papa B was beyond reason. "There's no turning back, Mama B. They must die with the secret. However, I'll let them live till tomorrow, he said, his voice icy. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting a silvery glow over the village of Adja. Inside the buka, shadows danced on the walls as the flickering flames of the cooking fires began to die down. The usual bustling chatter had long since faded, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Beneath the buka, in a hidden underground chamber, the air was thick with dread. Ayo and Dio were bound, their faces pale with fear and exhaustion. The smell of damp earth and decay permeated the air, mingling with the scent of fear. The time Papa B promised to keep them alive had finally elapsed. He stood before them, his eyes cold and calculating, a twisted smile playing on his lips. Mama B hovered nearby, her face a mask of conflict, torn between loyalty to her husband and a burgeoning sense of guilt. Dio, whose true identity as Prince Ade remained a secret, glanced at Ayo, her eyes filled with fear. Just as Papa B raised his hand, ready to deliver a fatal blow, the sound of a distant horn echoed through the underground chamber. It was a call to arms, a sound that resonated with hope and power. The ground trembled with the approach of many feet, and the air crackled with the promise of justice. The heavy wooden door to the underground room burst open, and a flood of royal guards from Adeni Kingdom poured in, their uniforms gleaming under the torchlight. The guards were led by the king himself, a formidable figure dressed in regal attire, adorned with intricate patterns and symbols of his royal lineage. "Father!" Dio exclaimed. The king's gaze softened momentarily as he saw Dio. "Prince?" he replied, his voice filled with a mix of relief and determination. Ayo turned to Dio, realization dawning on her. "You're the prince?" she whispered, her eyes searching his. Dio nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "Yes, Ayo, I'm Prince Ade." Before Papa B could fully process the revelation, the king's voice boomed, filled with authority and righteous anger. "You killer, your time of terror ends now." Papa B's twisted smile faltered, replaced by a mask of fear and desperation. He lunged towards Dio, but was fired with an arrow on the leg and quickly overpowered by the guards. Mama B, her face stricken with sorrow, made no move to resist as she was bound alongside her husband. The guards moved swiftly, uncovering the gruesome secret that lay hidden within the underground chamber. The villagers, having followed the commotion, gathered at the buka, their faces a mix of horror and disbelief as they witnessed the truth unfold. Chief Adedeji, who had arrived at the scene, stood frozen in shock. Dio's piercing gaze turned towards him, revealing his complicity in the disappearances. "Chief Adedeji," the king declared, his voice carrying the weight of judgment, "you will be held accountable for your role in these heinous acts." The village head, once a figure of respect and authority, now stood disgraced before his people. He was led away in chains, the weight of his betrayal heavy on his shoulders. The village chief and Papa B were sentenced to death to pay for their crimes, while Mama B was sentenced to life imprisonment for her part in the ordeal, being the reason why the prince hadn't been killed. As the villagers began to process the revelation, their sorrow was tempered with relief. Ayo and Prince Aid were freed from their bonds, their reunion marked by an embrace filled with gratitude and love. The village elders stepped forward, their expressions solemn yet hopeful, and began preparations for a cleansing ritual to rid Adja of the dark deeds that had tainted their land. The dawn of a new day bathed the village of Adja in a warm golden light, signifying the beginning of a long-awaited peace. The air was thick with anticipation as the villagers gathered in the central square, preparing for the cleansing ritual that would purify their land from the dark deeds that had stained it. Elders, draped in richly patterned traditional clothes and adorned with traditional beads, stood at the forefront, their wise eyes reflecting the gravitas of the ceremony. The rhythmic beats of the talking drum echoed through the village, calling everyone to partake in the sacred rites. At the heart of the village, a large bonfire crackled and roared, symbolizing the burning away of past evils. Villagers took turns tossing in items representing their sorrow, fears, and the darkness that had plagued them. The flames leapt higher with each offering, casting a purifying light that seemed to cleanse the very soul of Adja. Amidst the crowd, Ayo and Prince Adi stood together, their hands intertwined. Ayo wore a beautifully embroidered dress that highlighted her natural grace and strength. Prince Ade, in a regal but simple agbada, watched her with eyes full of admiration and gratitude. The story of Ayo and Prince Ade and the dark feast of Papa B and Mama B became a powerful tale passed down through generations. It served as a reminder of the importance of courage, vigilance, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. The village of Adja, now cleansed and renewed, flourished once more, its people united by the strength of their traditions and the lessons learned from their past.